What are you talking about? Whatever, just hang on for a month. It ain't like you do nothing else. Oh, you are so hopeful. For what? Get a job, man, okay? You sit around here, do whatever you want to do. Shop on my credit card. You want to shop. You got that? You need to tell them some problem with that, right? Oh, so now you want to tell me what you do for me? You know what? I'm real tired of. Listen, we getting ready for this week's learning session, and I'm excited. So I'm going to play you a little bit of music to get you in the groove. Go ahead and grab your notebooks. Go ahead and get you some water, and let's get in the groove. This week's learning session is with Dr. Christopher Hall, and he got some juice for us today. But before we get started, let's get a little bit of this in. Hold on. Let me put my glasses on. You're getting ready for this week's learning session with Dr. Christopher Hall. But before we jump into that, we're going to get in a groove a little bit, because I believe you'll be able to inhale everything that he gives unless you get into the groove. But that didn't make any sense, because I like this song and the dog is barking in the background. But I want you guys to know you need to get in a groove when you're about to learn something. This is going to shift your life. This is going to take you to the next level. So let's listen to a little bit of Total. Wait a minute. Oh. And if you can hear me clearly, go ahead and comment in the comment area. Share this out if you're on Extreme RTT. To the leaders in the leaders community, I thank you for joining me every Thursday. And to those watching via YouTube, I thank you too. Let's get into it. Oh, come on, y'all. I know y'all feel that. I know y'all feel that. All right. So listen really quickly. Let's cover a couple of housekeeping rules. So number one, I want you to know, you guys already know, that you can, and I'm making sure that you can hear me clearly. So give me 1 second. Let's get into it. Wait a minute. Oh, come on, y'all. So as we wait for Dr. Christopher Hall to hop on, I am going to share this out on my personal page really quickly. But just know, as with every learning session, I got to get it right. With every learning session, you are supposed to be taking notes. You should have your glass of water. You should be ready and prepared to go to the next level. Every week we have what's called the learning sessions here in the leaders community. However, I do share it on various platforms, because I want any and everybody that's in the area, whether it's YouTube or my personal business page, to get into it. Now, we've been going through learning sessions for the past several months. We've had some amazing facilitators come in and give us the juice. And I'm just honored that we have some great people, that I'm connected to some great people that are willing to give us everything that we need and more. So that is one of the great things about being connected with me. So one of the things that I want you guys to keep in mind as we go through this learning session today, it is important, it is vital, it is mandatory that you understand your own value. Many of times we speak about our self-worth and knowing and trusting in our own belief system. And sometimes our belief system can be a little clouded, right? So tonight, on this very night, we're bringing in Dr. Christopher Hall, and he's going to share with us important techniques that we can use and implement in our day-to-day lives. Okay, so that's what I think is very important about being connected to the leaders community. So if you're not in the leaders community, I highly encourage you to join us in the leaders community. It is a private community that offers both personal and professional development resources. Simple as that. So if you want to write a book and you want to learn how to write a book, we are here for you. If you want to start a business, we are here for you. If you need assistance, motivation, encouragement, whatever it is, we are here for you in the leaders community. So tonight we're doing it a little different. Tonight we are sharing the learning session across all platforms. So we have it going live in our private community right now. We have it going live on my YouTube page and channel. We have it going live right now in Extreme ITT. We have it going all over the place because this information that Dr. Christopher Hall is going to share with us on this evening is going to take you to the next level. Many, many times we believe that we need everything else, but I'm telling you guys, everything that you need to be the best and better version of yourself begins with you. It starts with you and your belief system, what you believe about yourself, how you value your own self-worth. Listen, I am just the messenger, but Dr. Christopher Hall is on right now. I'm going to bring him into the room. Let me go ahead and get him plugged in here. I want you guys to take notes, okay? Take notes because that's what this is all about, going to the next level. Listen, many of us, and y'all know that's my favorite word, listen, hey, Angelita, but many of us are seeking more, and sometimes we just don't know how to get there. But I am here as the messenger. I don't know everything. Trust and believe that. And I am not perfect, but I am connected to some of the most amazing people all over the world, right? And so with me being connected to so many amazing people, I asked them, hey, are you available to share your expertise every Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time in the leaders community? And each and every time they've said yes. And I'm just honored again to be a messenger. But without further ado, let's bring in Dr. Christopher Hall. Hey, Dr. Christopher Hall, how you doing?
I am wonderful. How are you?
I am well. Listen, now you know we've been chitting and chatting all day today, and I am just excited to bring you on because you are a wealth of knowledge. I tell you that all the time. Even though I know you like being in the background, I'm pulling you up today. I need you front and center. I need you to give it to them raw, okay? And I've
That's the way I
shared
like
this
it.
amazing session across all of my platforms. So we are live in the leaders community. We are live via my YouTube page. We are live via Extreme ITT, and we are live via my personal page because I believe that everyone needs the nuggets that you're going to give today. So without
Okay.
further ado, I'm about to jump out and I'm gonna let you take it on.
Sounds like a plan. Well, first off, I like to start off by thanking Mrs. Wright for this opportunity. You know, tonight we're going to talk a few minutes about your self worth. Am I worthy? You know, I was chatting with this young lady a few years ago, and in the middle of the conversation, she asked me, she said, why don't you think that you are worthy of love? And it stopped me cold. You know, it's something I never thought about, but you know, I realized that at that particular time, I didn't see myself as worthy of love, and I never dealt with that until she brought it to my attention. So that's what we're going to talk about. So what, you know, a lot of people can't move forward because they don't realize that they've been hurt in the past and they haven't dealt with it, and that affects their self-worth. You know, and I want you to write this down. You cannot move forward until you heal. You cannot move forward until you heal. As long as you see yourself as a victim, you will never heal. You cannot heal as long as you see yourself as a victim, because as long as you see yourself as a victim, you give responsibility to the circumstances. You give responsibility to other people. You don't take ownership of your own life when you still see yourself as a victim. And so tonight, hopefully by the end of this session, we will move from a place of being a victim to be a place of being a victor. All right. So let's jump in and go. So I'm going to give you 5 ways that you can increase your self-worth. The first one is as I said, you can't heal until you move forward. But the first thing you have to do is, one, you have to heal those traumas. Now, the problem with healing those traumas is that as human beings, a lot of time what we do is when something hurt or when something bothers us a whole lot, we tend to push it to the side and forget about it. You can't ignore traumas in your life. You can't ignore those issues that you have in your life, because sooner or later those issues are going to come back. You can't run from them. So you have to be able to deal with those things. Now, I can't dismiss what people have done to you. I can't dismiss the circumstances that you have been placed in. But what I can tell you, that each one of those traumas, each one of those issues, each one of those circumstances that you have experienced, you have to turn that situation into a lesson. Have you kept ended up in the same circumstances again? Have you found yourself in the same relationship over and over again? You keep dating the same people over and over again. You find yourself in this continuous cycle. Well, the problem is you haven't learned the lesson that life has given you. All right. You haven't learned that lesson that life is giving you. So you keep repeating the same cycle over and over again. All right. You have to heal that trauma. You have to deal with it. You have to identify it, find out what it is so you can move forward. And as long as you don't deal with it, you're going to continue in that same cycle. So tonight, what I want you to do is make the decision that you're going to step off that merry-go-round and step into your destiny. All right. So that's that first thing. That's that first thing that we're going to do. The second thing to increase your self-worth is you must have standards. You must have standards. That's number 2. You have to set standards for yourself, and you have to set standards for how other people are going to treat you. You have to set standards about what you're going to accept. Because if you don't have standards, if you don't have a certain level of what you will accept and what you won't accept, people will treat you anyway, any way they want. If you don't have standards for yourself, you are going to treat yourself anyway, and what I liken it to is, you ever visited someone's home and the house was immaculate? The whole time you're there, you try to make sure that you don't mess up what that person has worked toward. You see that they keep their house very clean, so you don't want to mess it up, because of that standard that they have set. Versus you go to someone's house and, you see stuff crawling on the floor and, I have to laugh about that. But you see stuff crawling on the floor and trash is everywhere. That standard is not as high. So you are not going to treat that place the same way you would treat the immaculate place. So you must have standards. You have to set those standards. The third thing is you have to increase your knowledge around those standards. What is of value to you? Okay, so what is your standard? Is loyalty valuable to you? Is trust valuable to you? Okay, those are broad topics. So what you have to do is you have to educate yourself and really understand what those things mean. So say you set a standard that you want a person in your life, a helpmate, a spouse, a partner. You want a person that's trustworthy. All right. So you have to have that conversation. What does trust mean to you may not be the same thing trust means to that other person. So you have to really dig down deep and explore what that standard is and what it means to you. And so when you meet that person or you're trying to apply it to your own life, you know exactly the standards and what they mean to you. There's a lot of different ways you can get the education. All right. We have the leaders community right here. There's so many leaders in this community that they can help you with almost anything that you have problems with. So you have that. You can mentor people. You can get mentors. All right. We have people to mentor you. There are groups. There are a lot of different ways you can educate yourself about these topics. All right. I think we're on number 4. Hopefully, Mrs. Wright will keep me straight. Number 4, you have to understand that there are no mistakes in life. All right. And along with that, you have to understand that none of us are perfect. And what I mean is, sure, we all make mistakes, but it's like I said before, those mistakes that we make are lessons, and every time we make a mistake, we can't harp on the mistake. What we have to really do is we have to focus on learning from that mistake, learn that lesson that life is trying to treat us, because this is what I firmly believe. I firmly believe that everything we go through is preparing you for the next level of your life. It's just like when we used to play video games. You will be on a certain level and you will learn things and you don't understand while you're learning it. And it's not really, for you to understand at that time. The whole purpose of that lesson is to teach you the skills you need for when you get to that next level. Then when you make it to that next level, you can be successful at that level because you have already built the skills on the previous level. And so people ask me all the time, so, well, what happens when I keep making those same mistakes, when I keep staying on the same level? The problem is you haven't made the choice to move to the next level. You haven't learned that lesson. You haven't chosen to learn that lesson. So life is going to keep giving it to you till you make that decision, till you get sick and tired of being sick and tired, and you make that choice to move to the next level. It's a choice. You control your destiny. You control what happens in your life. And a lot of people don't realize that. You can't continue to blame other people. You can't continue to blame circumstances, for what's going on in your life. When you do that, you give away your power. And we were created with the power to be successful. If you believe in a higher being like I do, I believe that God wants us to win. The problem is we get in the way of our own winning. Number 5 is self-worth does not have an endpoint, all right, or a destination. Self-worth does not have an endpoint or a destination. When you're working on your self-worth, there's not a certain point you get to. As human beings, we are ever evolving. Every day, every experience that we go through is different. And at different levels, in different circumstances, we really have to make sure that we take our self-worth with us. All right? Because when you don't value yourself, as I said earlier, other people won't value you. You will accept the situation. You will stay on a job that you're not happy in because you don't believe in yourself that you have enough value to go to another job, the job you deserve. So take your time and take your self-worth and realize that once you get to a point where you have confidence in yourself, that's not the end, because there's another situation, there's another level that's going to happen, and you have to make sure that you have your self-confidence, your self-worth in place. I did some research one time about negativity, and negativity affects our self-worth. It psychologically, negativity sticks. Bad things stick. So let me prove that to you. Have you ever watched after a sporting event and there's an athlete who they're talking to, they're interviewing, and they're asking them questions about their performance, and they'll say, you had 30 points, you had 5 rebounds, and and 10 assists. A lot of times you will see that athlete who we feel has performed very well and has excelled. That person will be focused on, I missed that one shot in the third quarter. Because that's how we are. We tend to focus on the negative stuff more so than the positive stuff. They weren't looking at, all of the things that they have accomplished. We do that. We focus on that negative. Like I said, negativity sticks, bad stuff sticks, and they have proven this psychologically. So you have to be aware of that and make sure that for every negative thing every negative thought, every negative thing that comes to your mind, you have to give yourself 7 to 8 attaboys or attagirls. Every morning when I get up, and I'm not telling you to do this because people may say that you're crazy, and I might be crazy, but this is what I do every morning. When I wake up, I go into the bathroom and I look in the mirror and I have a conversation with myself. I tell myself, you are worthy. You deserve this. But, I'm presenting to you. So when I'm doing it in the mirror, I'm saying, I am worthy. I deserve this. And that's what you do. You do that over and over again. What I want you to do is do it to the point where you become your own MVP. Sometimes you got to give yourself props. And I'm not telling you to have long conversations or anything like that, but you have to make sure that negativity does not have a residence in your brain. When you start to think that I might not be able to do this or I can't handle this, you have to look at your own resume. You have to look at all the things that you have accomplished. Because I believe this. If you are still here, you are winning, because now you have the opportunity to learn that lesson and move on. We always have time for self-improvement. All right, so we've covered those 5 points, but let's move a little deeper. All right. Now, a lot of times we can't move forward because we anticipate something negative happen. Ask yourself this. When you are thinking about something, when you are thinking about accomplishing a goal, are you thinking about, I can achieve this because I'm a high achiever, this is something that I want to do? Or are you working hard just because you have a fear of failure? I want you to think about that, because it makes a difference, and it's different. All right? Because what we're going to talk about, there's a difference between self-confidence and self-esteem. All right? Self-confidence basically is the belief that I can do or I can accomplish some objective. All right? That's self-confidence. Self-esteem, and they're closely related. Self-esteem means the value that you have within yourself. All right? Self-esteem is the value you have within yourself. Now, so let's look at a situation and see how they affect each other. All right. So say there's some goal you wanted to accomplish. All right. There's a task that you had set forth that you really wanted to do. Self-confidence basically says, I believe that I can do this thing. I can accomplish it. All right. But that person that only has self-confidence, what happens when they do not accomplish that goal? All right, when they do not accomplish that goal, a lot of times that person who does not have self-esteem will sit down and become depressed. They become unhappy. They become frustrated. All right. Because everything they're trying to avoid failure. What I want you to do is move to a place where you have self-esteem. You recognize your self-worth. You recognize your value. And you know that even if I don't accomplish this goal, I still have value. I still value myself. I'm going to learn this lesson and move to the next level. All right. Because see, what happens is if you are only looking at the accomplishment with self-confidence, what ends up happening is that there comes a point when we have expectations. Expectations are basically when we have a preconceived or a pre-planned um, uh, expectation, or we pre-plan the result. So what happens when our expectations don't match the results? What that is called that's called an expectations gap. All right, because we really believe that we could accomplish this goal and we didn't accomplish it, or the results didn't turn out like we expected them to. So now we're frustrated. So my whole point in saying that is you have to retune or refocus your intention. All right. You have to realize and tell yourself that no matter what happens, all right, you are still going to value yourself, because what happens to you, it's just a lesson. All right. It's just a lesson. Learn that lesson and move to the next level. How do you do this? You have to really ask yourself, what do you really want? What do I really want? All right. If you're going to be successful in life, I really implore you, I beg you, I encourage you to write down what you want. All right. And people don't talk about this enough. I mean, people mention writing down your goals, but that's it. Most coaches, and I'm a big goal setting person. I believe that everybody should set goals and they should write them down. But as a coach, the way that I'm different is that not only do I want you to set goals, but I want you to create a task list for each goal. And what that means is, okay, you want to accomplish a certain thing within a year. You have to do the research and find out what it is that you need to do to accomplish that goal and put those things on a task list. That's what's going to hold you accountable, because how many of us have written down goals over and over again, and that's all we have? We have that list of goals, short-term, long-term goals, but with nothing else. The whole point is you have to set those goals, but you got to do the work. I'm talking about the sweat equity. I'm talking about that earned confidence. You have to accomplish small things every day to make sure you're working toward that goal. That's what's going to help you succeed, making those small accomplishments. Now, let's get real. All right. You can't move forward till you get rid of what's holding you back. I don't care if it's a person. I don't care if it's past trauma. I don't care if it's yourself. You can't move forward until you deal with whatever it is that's holding you back. Whatever it is that's holding you back, whatever it is that's holding you down, you need to cut it loose. You need to get rid of it, because you can't grow inside that bubble. Growth takes place outside of your comfort zone. All right, I'll say that again. Growth takes place outside of your comfort zone. No shift takes place in your comfort zone. All right, you can't change your life and keep doing the same things that you're comfortable with. You keep doing the same things over and over again, and you keep getting the same result. You know, I used to see myself as a perfectionist. But what I realized is that perfectionism is an illusion. Nobody is perfect. And once I realized that, I think what it did was it made me free to make mistakes. Not that I go out and purposely try to make mistakes, but I don't get frustrated. I don't get down. Don't get depressed as bad. Now it still happens because we have our heart set on things, but I understand that this happened for a certain reason. There's a purpose in this activity. You know, we have to also realize that anything we want is obtainable if we're willing to sacrifice and do whatever it takes to get to that goal, to accomplish that goal. A lot of people have goals, but they're not willing to make the sacrifices. They're not willing to do whatever it takes to get there. That's one of those things we have to really uh, talk to ourselves about. I want you to leave this session tonight, excuse me, with a chip on your shoulder. All right. And when I say that is, I want you to have that confidence. I want you to walk into the room with your head up high, with your chest out, knowing that whatever happens, you're going to be all right because you have self-worth, you have value, you hold yourself in high self-esteem. And as long as you do that, you're going to be all right. Because when I saw myself as a perfectionist, it led me to procrastination. Now ask yourself, is this you? All right. Because I'm a perfectionist, I have held myself back numerous times because I kept telling myself, all right, I got to get all my ducks in a row. Everything has to be perfect before I get started because I was working from a place of risk aversion. I was trying to avoid risk instead of working on what I really need to be working. I wasn't focused on the goal. So what you really have to do is you have to realize that perfection is an illusion. I mean, nobody wants to fail, but you're not going to be perfect all the time. And there's a lesson in that failure. There always is. All right. And this is the last thing I will say. And I want you to remember this. If you want to be successful, your desire to succeed must be 10 times greater than your fear of failure. If you want to be successful, all right, you have to, that desire has to be 10 times greater than your fear of failure. All right. So anyway, those are the 5 ways you increase your self-worth. I hope this has been good for you. Tune in to our Restorative Podcast. We just started last week. If you haven't listened to that episode, listen to it. I had our host and our leader, Miss Atiti Wright. People have started listening to it and they really like what she had to say. I've gotten some good feedback so far. So wherever you listen to your podcast, whether it's on Anchor, Spotify, Radio Public, Google Podcasts, and I'm hoping to have it on Apple Podcasts by the end of the week. So listen to us. And I told Mrs. Wright that I'll open it up for questions. I don't know if you have any questions or any statements we need to run through. I'm here to help. My whole purpose in life is bringing value to other people's lives. How can I help you? That's why I'm here today.
Listen, I don't know where these people are, but I know one thing. You gave nothing but you gave it all. Like I was sitting here, typing there, writing here. You gave it all. And this is so necessary. And it is even more necessary now than ever. Because a lot of times people feel that they cannot be their most authentic self because of what's hidden inside of them. And their self-worth is going to really, their self-worth is needed. And until you can value who you are and set those standards, as you mentioned, listen, when you said standards, that almost knocked me out my chair because a
That's
lot
it.
of people have not sat back and established standards. And that's why many of us, we get working those jobs that we dislike. We're in relationships that we don't, that doesn't add value to our lives. We are in friendships that doesn't add value to our lives. And it's so much, it has everything to do with how you feel about yourself, the
Yeah,
value
exactly.
of yourself, your self-esteem, your self-worth. It is so important. And this discussion tonight was very necessary. And though a lot of people shy away from it, because honestly, a lot of people don't want people to know that they're low on that Richter scale with their self-worth, or they feel less than about how they look on the outside. And that's why I've always been transparent to let people know that I suffered from low self-esteem, and I did not even acknowledge my self-worth. Now, the key is my parents gave me all of that equipment, and people can give that equipment to anyone, but until you believe it about yourself, that's when everything changes in your life. So, Dr. Christopher Hall, listen, you know how I feel about you, and
Yes,
you
ma'am. Yes,
give
ma'am.
us so much knowledge and so much wisdom and very implementable practical tools that we can start with. Even going to, like you said, when you get up in the morning and you have those short conversations with yourself,
That's
that
it.
is also important
It's
because,
very important.
yeah.
How you talk to yourself matters. People don't believe that. When you talk to yourself in a negative way, that affects your whole being. When you talk to yourself in a negative way, you allow other people to talk to you the same way because that's how you begin to see yourself. I work with a lot of people who are in bad relationships, and I keep telling them, if you are in a toxic relationship, that's your fault.
Mm.
That's not that other person's fault. That's your fault because you haven't set standards of how you're going to let that person treat you. So that's why you keep ending up or you stay in that toxic relationship. You don't value yourself enough to realize that you deserve better, that you can do better. So you stay in that comfort zone, and growth does not take place in that comfort zone.
Woo! I know, I know you changing lives right now because that right there, woo, that was a mouthful. And that is the absolute truth. And
It
it is
is.
great to hear from a male's point of view because, ladies, how many of us have been in relationships that not only we knew we could do better, but we needed to, we were there just because we felt that that's all we could get, or we felt that that's what we deserve. Listen, if you
Exactly.
put yourself on a pedestal, a lot of times we wait on our significant other to put us on a pedestal. But until you put yourself on a pedestal, and then when you put yourself on that pedestal, your whole world and mindset will change. That's when you will really know that you have set and established standards. And then you will
Exactly.
understand that not that you're not too good for that person, but you need to be with someone that is going to value who you are and build you up. That is the most important thing about being in a relationship. You are supposed to learn from one another, but you are also supposed to build one another up. And a lot of times, relationships don't work out that way. It's very, very much so one sided. But I do agree with you, Christopher. I never heard it that way, but it is your fault if you're in a relationship where you're not being treated accordingly. I agree with you.
Exactly. Exactly. Whenever we're dealing with people, they can only do to us what we allow to do to us. They can only do to us what we accept. When we don't set standards, people will test us until they find out where we are, and they will treat you accordingly.
Woo.
Just a quick example. If you say, in front of that person, you know what, I'm getting fat. You have opened the door so that person can now say, you know what, baby, you are getting a little chunky.
Mm-hmm.
And then when they say it back to you, now they've hurt your feelings, but you have opened the door. You have brought that on yourself. Hold yourself in high esteem. It's crazy. I have a female best friend, and one day she was talking about herself. She was really, really being down on herself, and I said, "Hold up, look, I'm not gonna let you talk to my friend like that.
Mm.
I'm not gonna let you talk to my friend like that." And she was like, "But I'm talking about myself." And I said, exactly. That's my point. You're my friend, and I have standards for my friends. So even though you're talking about yourself, I'm not going to let you talk about yourself like that, because I wouldn't let somebody else talk about you like that. You know,
Wow.
so how you talk to yourself matters in all situations. You have to be your own MVP.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I love that, especially being your own MVP. And that's something I always tell the leaders within our community. You have to be your own imaginary best friend. You have to be your hype man. You have to be the one that makes you believe when no one else believes. And it all begins with your self worth and how you feel about yourself and the conversations, whether it's, thinking or the conversations that you literally have with yourself. People don't understand that it is important to have conversations with yourself so that you can understand not only your value, but so as you mentioned, set those standards. And even at the age of 40, I have been working on reestablishing my standards because I never set clear standards. And I think again that this session is one of our most powerful session along with all of the others. But again, it all starts with you. You said it. You can have any and everything that you desire, but it's what you believe to be true. And so close us out, Dr. Hall.
Look, this is it. You can't change until you make the decision to change. We can coach you, we can mentor you, you can read all the books you want, you can go to all kind of leadership conferences and self-confidence conferences, but until you make the decision to change, you will never change. You have to make that decision to change. See the problem, eliminate the problem, find a way to work through it, around it, or go over it. Make the
Yeah.
decision that no matter what happens, you're going to be successful. You're going to learn that lesson and move to the next level. Step off that merry-go-round and step into your destiny.
You know you dope, right? You just too dope. And
Hey, when you ask me to bring it, I'll bring it.
you are just too dope. I'm glad, and we're going to be able to air this in so many different ways. But I'm just again honored. I'm honored to be a part of your circle. You should know by now I'm not letting you go, but I am thankful for all of your knowledge, for all of the things that you do, not only for me, but for the leaders in the community. I thank you for being the host of the Restorative Podcast.
Yes,
Shameless
ma'am.
plug. Dr. Hall is the host of the Restorative Podcast, and that's another avenue of resources that we are offering to individuals who are seeking to go higher in any and every area of their life. He is also a part of Walk By Academy. He's one of the coaches. We are bringing it harder. We are just moving silently in the background, but you will see an increase because we have a team of influencers who are ready and able to take you to the next level. But number one, you must be coachable. And number two, you must be willing. You must be willing and ready to make a decision to go higher. So, Dr. Hall, I thank you. I'm going to close this out. You stay on as I end this broadcast. I can't even get it out because this was a lot of information. I'm going to go back and listen to this and
Yes,
write my
ma'am.
own personal notes because, again, this is not just for the audience. This is also for me. I'm doing the work right alongside each and every last one of you. So again, we thank you, Dr. Christopher Hall. Please let them know how they can get in contact with you before we end this broadcast.
Hey, I'm easy to reach. I'm on Facebook at Dr. CJ Hall. I'm on Instagram at Chris J Hall SC. I'm on Twitter, Chris J Hall SC. LinkedIn, Christopher J Hall. Everywhere there's a social media outlet, I'm there. If you can't get in touch directly with me, you can get in touch with me through Mrs. Wright. But anyway, I hope this helped you. Be better.
Thank
Be
y'all
a
for tuning in.
savage.
All right. Kill the game. Oh, this was amazing.